Martin Hale laid the payroll ledger beside his untouched slice of lemon cake and turned it so everyone at the table could see the 6 highlighted names. Who hired them? He looked straight at Diane. She still had her wine glass raised from the toast she'd made to herself for keeping this family employed. Randall's fingers closed around Claire's knee beneath the table, the same private warning he had given her in the kitchen 10 minutes earlier. Please don't embarrass my mother. Claire studied her husband's face. He had defended Diane for weeks, but defense was easy when it happened behind closed doors. Now their accountant was waiting. So were the 6 relatives whose salaries had postponed equipment, drained reserves, and turned family favors into permanent expenses. Randall opened his mouth. Claire realized she had no idea whether he would finally tell the truth or use her as a shield one more time. 8 weeks earlier, she'd been standing on a ladder with a mouthful of glazing points when Claire Bennett appeared below her carrying 2 coffees and an accusation. "You're ignoring your husband." Claire pressed the last metal point into the frame with her putty knife, spat the extras into her palm, and looked down. "Good morning to you two." I called twice. "My phone's over there." The phone lay face down on a workbench 15 feet away, buried under sketches for a fanlight window. Morning sun came through the tall eastern windows of Bennett Glassworks and broke across the concrete floor in red, amber, and blue. The effect was beautiful if you didn't notice the extension cords, sawdust, and 3 crates of salvaged glass waiting to be cataloged. Diane held up the coffees. "One of these has oat milk, and one of them tastes good." "Then give me the bad one." "That's my girl." Diane set Claire's cup on the ladder tray and walked toward the office without asking why Randall had been trying to reach her. That was one of her gifts. She could make an intrusion feel like restraint. Claire climbed down and checked her phone. 1 missed call was from Randall. The other was from Diane, apparently placed before she drove over to announce it. A text from Randall read, "Need final kill number before lunch. Also, Mom found us warehouse help." Claire glanced through the glass wall of the office. Diane had already hung her purse on the back of the chair she called hers, though it had originally belonged to the office manager and technically belonged to the company. A man Claire didn't recognize sat opposite her, tapping one heel while Diane showed him something on the computer. Claire carried her coffee in. "Claire, this is Travis." Diane smiled as though presenting a gift she had wrapped herself. "My sister's son." Travis stood quickly. He was broad across the shoulders and wore a collared shirt with a pale rectangle where a price sticker had been removed. "We met at Christmas." "Did we?" "At Diane's. I was near the ham. That narrows it down." He laughed too hard. Diane gave Claire the look she used when Claire's jokes endangered someone's confidence. "Travis has warehouse experience," she said. "Shipping and receiving," Travis added. "Inventory, safety. Where?" "Mostly Carter Office Supply." Claire knew Carter's had closed 2 years earlier. That didn't mean Travis had done anything wrong there. Still, something about the interview already being halfway over made her keep her coat on. "We aren't hiring," she said. Diane clicked her tongue. "We've needed warehouse help for months." "We need a kiln." "You can't ask a kiln to unload a truck. You can't ask Travis to fire stained glass at 1400 degrees. Travis looked between them. "I can learn." Claire almost smiled. He had a pleasant, earnest face, and the workshop did need someone to clean up the storage cages. Marisol had complained twice that week about installers pulling the wrong crates because no one had updated the labels. "What hours are you looking for?" Claire asked. "Whatever you've got." Diane answered at the same time. "Full time." Travis's eyes dipped to the desk. Claire noticed. "Why don't you fill out an application? Marisol manages the warehouse, so she'll need to interview you, too." "I already gave him the tax forms," Diane said. "You gave him tax forms before he applied?" "I believe in being prepared." On the wall behind her hung a framed photograph from the first year of Bennett Glassworks. Claire and Randall stood in front of the detached garage behind Claire's old house, both wearing safety glasses and ridiculous grins. The company sign had been a sheet of plywood Claire painted by hand. Randall's arm was around her waist. Diane had taken the picture after bringing them sandwiches and spending an hour answering the phone because their first commercial client kept calling with changes. Claire looked from the photograph to Travis. "Application first," she said, then Marisol. Diane spread her hands. "Of course. You're the boss." The words sounded agreeable. They also sounded like something being entered into evidence. By lunchtime, Randall had approved Travis at $24 an hour. Claire found out because Marisol came into the design room holding his paperwork with 2 fingers. "You interview him?" Claire asked. "He told me Mr. Bennett hired him." Mr. Bennett is in Cincinnati. That did seem like a long interview. Marisol had been with the company 6 years and could deliver a sentence so dry it took a second to burn. Her black hair was twisted up with a carpenter's pencil. Another pencil was tucked behind one ear. Claire set down her ruler. "Did you talk to him?" "For 8 minutes. He worked the loading dock at Carter's, but he didn't do inventory. He says he's good with people. Crates are sensitive." "I told him that." Claire called Randall. He answered on the 4th ring with airport noise behind him. "Hey, beautiful. You hired Travis?" A pause. Not guilt, exactly. Calculation. "Mom said he interviewed well." "Mom interviewed him for her own idea." "Our own idea. We've talked about warehouse help. We've talked about part-time help after the kiln financing is settled. He can start part-time. The form says 40 hours. Then change the form." Claire glanced at Marisol, who politely became interested in the sample cabinet. "Why did you approve his pay without talking to me?" "Because I'm trying to take one thing off your plate. You keep saying you're drowning. I don't want you to take things off my plate and hand them to your mother. That's not what happened." From somewhere near Randall came a boarding announcement. "Look, I have to go," he said. "Give him a couple weeks. If he's useless, we'll deal with it." "We?" "Yes, Claire, we. The 2 people who own the company." He hung up before she could point out that one of those 2 people had just acted alone. Marisol waited. 2-week trial, Claire said. 24 hours a week. Don't invent work for him. "I never invent work. You reorganize 300 soldering tips by degree of personal disappointment." They knew what they did. That got a laugh out of Claire despite herself. Marisol took the amended paperwork and left. A few minutes later, Claire heard the office door open. Diane crossed the workshop carrying a new brass key tag. She stopped at the walnut board beside the employee entrance, wrote Travis in neat block letters, and hung it on an empty hook. The board had come from Claire's grandfather's hardware store. The dark wood was scarred around the edges and held 24 brass hooks in 4 even rows. When Bennett Glassworks moved out of the garage, Claire had scrubbed decades of dust from it and mounted it beside the door. Every permanent employee got a key with a round brass tag. Randall teased her for making a ceremony of it, but on the morning Marisol received hers, she'd rubbed her thumb over her name like it meant something. "Trial employees don't get keys," Claire called. Diane turned, key still in hand. "What if he gets here before me?" "He won't." "You don't know that." "I know you get here at 7:15. 7:10. You unlock the building. That's the system." Diane looked at the key, then removed it from the hook. "Fine. You make the rules." There it was again, that careful little surrender. That evening, Claire found the key in Randall's suit jacket. He was unpacking in their bedroom, telling her about a hotel shower with such weak pressure that he had emerged emotionally dirtier when she lifted the jacket from the bed. The key slid from the pocket and landed on the hardwood. The brass tag flashed between them. Randall stopped folding a shirt. "Did your mother give you this?" "She asked me to give it to Travis. I told her he wasn't getting one." "I know." "Then why is it in your pocket?" He sat on the edge of the bed. "Because I didn't want to have an argument with her in front of everyone. So you decided to have one with me in private." That is an incredibly dramatic way to describe a key. Claire picked it up. Travis was written in Diane's precise lettering. "It's access to our building." He works there. He has worked there for 6 hours. Mom thinks you don't trust her judgment. Your mother's judgment isn't a partner in the company." Randall rubbed both hands over his face. He looked tired. He really had spent 3 days chasing a hotel contract that could cover a quarter of their annual revenue. Claire knew the lines around his mouth and what each one cost him. She also knew he had put the key in his pocket, intending to wait until she softened. "She helped us when we had nothing," he said. "We pay her $68,000 a year." "That's not what I mean." "I know, that's the problem. You never mean the thing we can actually count." He stood and walked into the closet. "I'm not doing this tonight." Claire closed her fist around the key, its teeth pressed into her palm. "Are you giving it to him?" "No." "Are you giving it back to your mother?" "No." "Then what are you doing?" Randall took off his watch and placed it in the wooden tray on the dresser. Trying to stay married to someone who turns every small decision into a border dispute. He went into the bathroom and shut the door. A second later, the shower came on with their excellent water pressure. Claire stood alone with the key. Travis lasted beyond the 2-week trial. He was not useless, which would have been simpler. He arrived late but stayed cheerful. He mislabeled crates, then volunteered to fix the labels. He brought donuts on Fridays and learned which radio station Marisol tolerated before 10. Once, when an installer sliced his forearm on a damaged pane, Travis drove him to urgent care and sat there for 3 hours. He also spent long stretches on his phone and disappeared whenever a truck needed unloading in the rain. Claire reduced his schedule twice. Each time, payroll showed 40 hours. The first discrepancy Diane blamed on software. The second she blamed on habit. The third time, she shut the office door and said, "He needs the insurance." That doesn't create 36 hours of work. 4 hours. He worked 36. You paid 40. Diane leaned back in her chair. "Do you know how humiliating it is for a grown man to ask his aunt for a job?" "No." "Do you know how expensive it is to pay people for being humiliated?" "That's cute. It wasn't meant to be." For one bare second, Diane looked exhausted rather than offended. "My sister is scared for him. He's had a rough couple years." Claire waited, almost hoping for something concrete. An injury, a failed business, a debt that made the extra 4 hours feel less like theft and more like a decision Claire might have made herself. Diane only said, "Family takes care of family." Claire looked through the office window at the workshop. Travis was helping Marisol carry a finished transom toward the packing table. He was being careful. He was also wearing a company key clipped to his belt. The brass tag struck his thigh with every step. By the end of the month, the kiln payment was short by $11,000. Claire stayed late on a Thursday to trace the cash. She expected to find rising glass prices, overtime from the courthouse restoration, or another deposit Randall had promised before the client actually paid it. Instead, she found 6 unfamiliar names: Travis Bennett, Sheila Ward, Ronald Pierce, Tina Bennett, Marcus Lowe, Pamela Crowley. All 6 shared either Diane's bloodline or her holiday table. Together, they had collected $28,460 from Bennett Glassworks in 7 weeks. Claire printed the payroll report. Then she printed it again because the first copy felt impossible. At the bottom of each hiring record was the same authorization code, RBENNETT Randall. She heard him come in through the employee entrance. A key turned, the alarm chirped, and his footsteps crossed the workshop. "Claire," he called, "why are all the lights off?" She sat in the blue glow of the monitor with the 6 names spread across Diane's desk. Randall appeared in the doorway and saw the papers. He didn't ask what they were. That was how Claire knew he had been waiting for her to find them. Randall took off his coat and laid it over the back of a chair, buying himself 3 seconds. "Say something," Claire said. "I was going to." "When?" "Tomorrow." "You've been going to tell me tomorrow for 7 weeks?" I didn't know about all 6 for 7 weeks. It was the kind of answer that found a technical edge and clung to it. Claire lifted the first hiring record. Which ones did you know about? Travis, obviously. Sheila does social media. Ron's helping with maintenance. Ron billed us for 120 hours. He's been checking the roof leak. The roofer checked the roof leak. He charged us $400. Ron charged us $3,000. Randall pulled the other chair away from the desk and sat. His face had gone pale beneath the tan he'd picked up walking between convention hotels in Cincinnati. Mom said he was doing general work too. Such as? I don't know, general work. Claire pushed the reports across the desk. Tina Bennett, Community Outreach, Marcus Lowe, Vendor Relations, Pamela Crowley, Remote Administrative Support. Tell me what they do. Sheila started the Instagram campaign. She reposted 4 pictures from our website. She's learning. On salary? It's not a big salary. It's $42,000, which is not a big salary for marketing. It is if you don't do marketing. Randall's eyes shifted toward the glass wall as though one of the dark work tables might offer him a better argument. Claire tapped Pamela's record. What administrative support can Pamela provide from home that Diane can't provide from the office? She's cleaning up the client database. I cleaned up the client database last month. Well, apparently it needed more cleaning. A laugh came out of Claire before she could stop it. It wasn't amusement. It was the sound a person made when the available choices were laughter or throwing a stapler. Randall's jaw tightened. I know it looks bad. It looks accurate. Can we not do that? Do what? That thing where every sentence is a knife. Then stop handing me handles. He stood again, restless now. He went to Diane's filing cabinet, opened the top drawer, and shut it without taking anything. Claire watched him touch the room as if ownership could be demonstrated through furniture. The hotel contract is close, he said. Once it lands, this is manageable. So you knew. I knew Mom had found a few people. You approved everyone. She uses my login when I'm traveling. Claire went still. You gave her your authorization code. She already processes payroll. That code is your signature. It's a password, Claire. It tells the system you approve the hire. I did approve them generally. Generally. She called. She explained. I said, if there was work, fine. Did you ask if there was work? I trusted her. The answer was finally plain enough to hurt. Not because he trusted his mother. Claire had trusted her too. He had taken that trust and made it stronger than Claire's right to know what was happening inside her own company. You didn't trust me to agree, she said. I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like there's no difference between a bad decision and a betrayal. Claire looked at the 6 names. You hid a bad decision because you knew it was a betrayal. Randall leaned both hands on the desk. She kept this place running when you and I were sleeping 4 hours a night. She answered phones for free. She fed us. She got us the Mercer job. We paid her back. You think salary settles everything? No, I think salary means she doesn't get to help herself. He straightened. She didn't steal anything. She created jobs without my consent and put relatives in them. People who needed work. People she wanted to rescue with our money. Our money, he repeated, not yours. Claire felt the words land. Randall seemed to feel it too, because his face softened a fraction. That's not how I meant it. How did you mean it? I mean, I have a say. You have half the say. This is why people find you hard to talk to. Which people? He looked away. There were answers that could be repaired and answers that changed the shape of the room. Claire folded the reports into a neat stack because her hands needed something exact to do. Suspend all 6, she said. Tomorrow morning, no more payments until we verify the work. Travis is doing actual work. Then he can document it. You can't cut 6 people off overnight. We didn't hire 6 people. Your mother did. She'll feel humiliated. That isn't a payroll category. God, Claire. What? Can you hear yourself? She could. Her voice was calm. Randall hated calm when he wanted her anger to excuse his. He picked up his coat. We'll talk to Mom after her birthday. Her birthday dinner is 3 weeks from now. I'm not blowing up her birthday over this. It doesn't have to blow up. You tell her privately tomorrow. I said after her birthday. And I said suspend them. He gave her a long, tired look. You're not the only person in this marriage who gets to say no. Then he left her in the office with his mother's password still glowing on the screen. Claire didn't sleep. Randall did, or pretended well enough to resent. At 2 a.m, she went downstairs and sat at the kitchen island with a legal pad, the payroll records, and the operating agreement from the fire safe. She and Randall had signed it 9 years earlier at a folding table in the garage. The attorney who drafted it had been a customer's brother and had charged them less than the decorative sidelights they installed in his office. Most of the agreement concerned decisions they had imagined making together, taking on debt, selling the company, admitting another owner, hiring relatives. That last provision required both signatures. Claire read it 3 times. At 6:30, she emailed Martin Hale and asked for the company's year-to-date payroll register, vendor disbursements, and current cash position. She did not mention Diane. She did not mention Randall. She told herself she wanted clean information before making the problem larger. Martin called at 8:03. You're in early, Claire said. I'm old. We call this morning. Martin had handled their taxes since the garage years. He wore bow ties without irony, grew tomatoes with obsessive competitiveness, and treated vague financial language as a personal insult. Is this about the kiln? He asked. Partly. That word just ruined my coffee. I'm reviewing operating expenses. Why? Because we're short on the kiln deposit. You were not short last month. We are now. Silence. Claire could hear his keyboard. Payroll jumped, he said. I noticed. Did you hire a marketing department? Apparently. That's not an answer I enjoy from an owner. I need the records first. Claire, if there's an issue, I'll call you. Another pause. I'll send everything through the secure portal. Thank you. And Claire? Yes. Don't change numbers before I see them. I wouldn't. I know. I'm saying it because somebody changed 3 employee classifications last Friday. The office door opened before she could ask more. Diane walked in carrying a cardboard drink tray and a white bakery box. Martin, I have to go. Diane set the box on the desk. Cinnamon rolls, I thought we could all use peace offerings. Who are you making peace with? Well, good morning to you too. She removed her coat, hung it on the chair, and noticed the operating agreement beside Claire's elbow. Her smile remained, but only in the lower half of her face. Couldn't sleep? Randall told you. He said you found the payroll. The payroll wasn't hidden well enough? Diane sat opposite Claire without being invited. I knew you'd be upset. Then why didn't you ask me? Because I knew you'd say no. The answer was so close to Randall's that Claire felt briefly outnumbered by a single mind. Do these people work here? Of course they work here. What does Pamela do? She's organizing the client database. It was already organized. Not well. Marcus? Marcus has vendor relationships. With whom? He knows people. Name one. Diane's expression cooled. You're cross-examining me before I've had coffee. You brought coffee. It isn't mine. Claire looked at the drink tray. 2 cups, one for her, one for Randall, who rarely arrived before 9 when he wasn't traveling. Diane followed her eyes. I didn't know you'd be here this early. In my office. It's my office, technically. The correction came automatically, and for the first time, Claire heard how many small possessions Diane had accumulated through repetition. Her chair, her office, her system, her people. Claire opened the bakery box, took out a cinnamon roll, and put it on a napkin. Every employee submits a written description of current duties by Friday, she said. Hours will need to match time records. Every payroll change requires both owners' approval. That will create a lot of unnecessary work. Then it should be easy for people doing necessary work. Diane watched her tear the cinnamon roll in half. You know, she said, Randall worries you don't like his family. Randall should worry I don't like fraud. Color rose along Diane's neck. Watch that word. Why? Because once you say something like that, you can't make people unhear it. Maybe they should hear it. Diane leaned forward. These are good people. They've had layoffs, divorces, health problems. Pamela was about to lose her apartment. Marcus has been driving deliveries for practically nothing. Tina has brought us 3 leads. Did any lead become a client? That isn't always the point. It is in sales. People remember who helps them. Claire wiped icing from her thumb. Is that what this is? An investment in being remembered? Diane's eyes sharpened. You have no idea how lonely it is when your whole life becomes conditional. People call when they need your casserole, your guest room, your introductions. Then the minute you need something, suddenly everybody wants receipts. For an instant, Claire saw the woman beneath the tactics, useful for so long that usefulness had become both identity and weapon. It might have moved her if Diane hadn't chosen Claire's company as the place to settle the score. I'm sorry Pamela is struggling, Claire said. We can help her personally if Randall and I agree. We cannot invent a job for her and call it business. You think those are different because you have never needed family to make room for you. Claire set down the pastry. Diane seemed to regret the sentence, but she did not take it back. My parents are dead, Claire said. My closest cousin lives in Oregon. I know exactly what it feels like to want room in a family. That's not what I meant. It usually isn't. Claire, written duties, Friday. Diane gathered the untouched coffees. She left the cinnamon rolls. By Friday, 6 job descriptions sat in Claire's inbox. They were polished, detailed, and written in the same font with the same peculiar habit of putting 2 spaces after every period. On paper, Sheila developed digital brand strategy. Tina cultivated community partnerships. Marcus optimized vendor pricing. Pamela maintained client records. Ron conducted facility inspections. Travis managed inventory flow. Marisol signed Travis's timesheet but refused to sign Ron's inspection log. Diane signed the other 5. Claire rejected the payroll batch. Randall approved it from his phone 17 minutes later. When Claire confronted him that night, he was at the dining table with spreadsheets open and cold takeout between them. You're turning this into a loyalty test, he said. You overrode me. You froze people's checks. Pending proof of work. They submitted the descriptions. Your mother wrote the descriptions. You don't know that. They all misspelled liaison the same way. Despite himself, Randall smiled. It vanished when Claire didn't. She helped with the formatting, he said. She manufactured a paper trail. She made it professional. Claire closed his laptop. Choose 6. What? 6 people in your family. We'll each give them $200 a month from our personal account. That's $2,400. It's generous. It's honest, and the company stops pretending they're employees. Do you hear how condescending that sounds? It's more than most people can afford to give. Mom gave you 10 years. Your mother was paid for 9 of them. Randall pushed his chair back. You reduce everything to transactions. No, you turn transactions into love so no one is allowed to question them. He stared at her. Then quietly he said, Mom told me you'd do this once the company got big enough. Do what? Start acting like you built it alone. Claire waited for him to tell her he had defended her. When he didn't, she felt the silence enter the marriage and take a seat. What did you say? Randall opened his laptop again. I said you were stressed. Not that she was wrong. Not that they had built it together. Stressed. The clean little word that made her judgment temporary and his mother's behavior understandable. The next morning, Claire changed the purchasing rules. No bundled approvals, no expense without a named project, no payroll amendment without supporting time records. She withdrew the pending papers for her personal guarantee on the kiln financing. At noon, Marisol came into the design room and closed the door. Diane says the courthouse supplies are on hold because of you. They're not. She says your new approvals delayed the CAIM order. The order was submitted under the wrong project code. Then fix the code. I asked Marcus for the vendor quote. Marisol's face tightened. Marcus doesn't order our lead CAIM. I do. Apparently, he negotiated the price. With who? The internet. That is one of the questions. Marisol folded her arms. I don't want to be in the middle of family business. Neither do I. But you are family. Claire looked at her. Marisol sighed. Diane covered my desk for 11 weeks when I was out. She drove me to appointments. Wouldn't take gas money. So if you're asking me to help build a case against her, I'm asking where our materials are. Then ask that. Where are our materials? I don't know. It was the first useful answer anyone had given Claire all week. She went to the walnut keyboard. 6 new brass tags occupied the bottom row. Travis, Sheila, Ron, Tina, Marcus, Pamela. Claire lifted Pamela's key from its hook. The metal was cold and clean, without a scratch around the teeth. Diane had issued access to people who had never entered the building. Behind Claire, the employee door opened. Randall came in carrying a bottle of wine and a birthday card. Mom wants a family dinner Sunday after next, he said. Please tell me we can get through one meal without turning it into a board meeting. Claire put Pamela's key back on its hook. That depends, she said, on what happens before dinner. Randall set the wine on the reception counter. What does that mean? It means I want the hires suspended until Martin reviews them. Absolutely not. Then tell me what Pamela did. Tuesday between 8 and 5. I don't know what every employee does every minute. She billed 9 hours. Ask Mom. I did. She sent me a paragraph about database hygiene. He took the key from the hook and examined it. You went through the trouble of making this point yesterday. I didn't make the keys. Mom did. Exactly. Randall replaced Pamela's key. You want me to fire 6 people before her birthday because their keys are too shiny? I want you to stop pretending not to understand. I understand that you're angry. What I don't understand is why we can't solve this without humiliating everyone. Your mother had 7 weeks to solve it without humiliating anyone. He looked at the bottom row of tags, then at Claire. I'll talk to her. When? Before dinner. Tomorrow. Claire. Tomorrow. He exhaled through his nose. Fine. Claire knew he was agreeing to the deadline because refusing it would sound unreasonable. She also knew agreement and action had become separate things in their marriage. The next morning, Randall took Diane into the conference room. Through the glass, Claire could see his careful posture and Diane's stillness. He spoke for 15 minutes. Diane listened with her chin lifted, then reached across the table and patted his hand. When they emerged, her eyes were red. Randall walked straight past Claire. Diane stopped. You win. What did I win? I'll have everyone submit timesheets daily. That isn't what I asked. You asked Randall to choose between us. No, I asked my business partner to correct something he approved. Same thing, apparently. She went into the office and closed the door hard enough to rattle the framed garage photograph. Claire found Randall beside the cutting table, pretending to inspect a bevel pattern. You told her to submit daily timesheets? I told her we need documentation. I asked for a suspension. She offered a compromise. She offered more paperwork she can write herself. He set down the pattern. I'm not firing my cousin Tina 11 days before Mom's birthday. You've seen Tina twice in 5 years. That doesn't mean she isn't family. It apparently means she's community outreach. Just give me until the dinner. Why? So Mom can have one evening that isn't about this company. Claire glanced toward the office. Diane sat at the desk with one hand over her eyes, positioned squarely in the glass. It's always about the company, Claire said. That's where she keeps her leverage. Randall's expression hardened. You genuinely think she's crying to manipulate you? I think she knows there's a window. He walked away. By the end of the day, the CAIM order had not arrived. Without the lead channels, the courthouse restoration stopped at 38 finished panels. 2 installers spent Friday sweeping the loading bay because Claire had no work ready for them. She called the supplier herself. "We released that shipment Tuesday," the account manager said. Marcus confirmed a change to ground freight. Marcus Lowe? That's right. He asked us to prioritize economy over delivery. Did he have authority to do that? He said he was your vendor relations manager. Claire closed her eyes. Where is the shipment? Transfer facility outside Louisville. The courthouse site was in Ohio. The shipment had originated in Pennsylvania. Expedited recovery cost $1,800. When Claire confronted Marcus by phone, he sounded offended. I saved 12% on freight. You added 5 days. Nobody told me there was a deadline. The purchase order has the delivery date in bold. I thought that was your preferred date. It was the date we preferred to continue operating. He chuckled as if she'd made a joke. Listen, Diane said you were getting a little intense about all this. I was trying to help. Don't change another order. Then what exactly am I supposed to do? It was the first sensible question he had asked. Nothing, Claire said. Until your position is reviewed, do nothing. 10 minutes later, Randall called. You can't tell an employee not to work and then criticize him for not working. I can if his work costs us $1,800. He saved money. No, he moved a number into a different column and called it savings. The courthouse job has margin. Not if we keep paying relatives to interfere with it. You make them sound like parasites. I'm describing the result. Marcus called Mom. She's a wreck. Marcus is a grown man who can call his manager. He doesn't know who that is anymore. Neither do I. Randall went quiet. Then he said, the hotel group pushed the decision to next month. Claire gripped the phone. You told me the contract was close. It is close. Next month is not close when payroll is Friday. We have reserves. How much? Enough. How much, Randall? I'm driving. We'll talk at home. He ended the call. Claire logged into the bank account. The tax reserve was short by $32,000. She refreshed the page, as though a bank might recognize shock and politely restore the balance. The transfer had been made 11 days earlier. The authorization showed Randall's name. She printed the record and carried it to Diane's office. Where did this go? Diane looked at the page, then turned back to her monitor. Ask your husband. I'm asking the person who processed payroll. Then ask me about payroll. Did he use this for payroll? Diane removed her reading glasses. We had obligations. Taxes are obligations. We needed breathing room. Randall expected the hotel deposit. And when did you plan to put it back? I didn't make the transfer. You spent it. I paid people who had already earned their checks. Claire lowered her voice. You knew we didn't have enough cash. I knew we had a temporary gap. So you added 6 people. Those people have rent and mortgages. So do the people who actually work here. Diane's mouth tightened. There it is. What? The way you say, actually. You decided they were worthless before you looked at anything they did. I have looked. That is all I've been doing. You looked for reasons to reject them. I looked for time records. You don't ask Marisol to prove every hour. Marisol produces windows, and I suppose I produce nothing. Claire looked around the office. Diane's color-coded folders, the spotless desk, the framed photograph, a mug that read, Boss Lady, given to her by Travis. You produce a lot, Claire said. That's why I trusted you with so much access. For once, Diane had no quick reply. Claire placed the bank record on the desk between them. No payroll is released until Martin reviews the books. You can't do that. I can withhold an unapproved batch. Randall will approve it. Then Martin will see who did. Diane's eyes dropped to the transfer record. Risk moved across her face, quick and unmistakable. You'd involve an outsider in a family disagreement? He's our accountant. He'll make it ugly. No, he'll make it legible. Claire returned to the design room and called Martin. This time she told him everything. He did not interrupt, except once to ask whether the 6 workers were related to Diane by blood or marriage. When Claire finished, he let out a long breath. "Both owners consent," he said. "It's in your agreement." I found it. Related party hiring needs both signatures. Same for compensation changes involving immediate family. Randall used his code. 1 authorization is not 2. What happens now? First, I verify what happened. Then you and Randall decide whether you still know how to own a company together. Claire stared at the fan light drawing on her table. That sounds expensive. It often is. Can we cover taxes? If the courthouse balance comes in and you pause discretionary spending. Payroll? Your regular payroll, yes. The added positions depend on whether they're legitimate employees. They aren't. You believe they aren't. I need records. They have records. Records and evidence are cousins, not twins. Despite herself, Claire smiled. Martin continued. Send me alarm access reports, timesheets, vendor communications, payroll changes, and job descriptions. Don't edit anything. Don't tell anyone to edit anything. What if they already have? Then send me both versions if you can find them. After the call, Claire opened the building's security portal. Every key had a number recorded beside the employee name. The software stored 90 days of entries. Travis's key appeared most weekdays, often late. Ron's appeared 3 times. Sheila's appeared once. On the afternoon Diane gave her a tour. Tina, Marcus, and Pamela had never used theirs. All 6 had submitted on-site hours. Claire exported the report and sent it to Martin. At 5, Marisol entered carrying a dented clipboard. The cane will be here tomorrow morning, Claire said. I paid to redirect it. Marisol shut the door. Ron says he inspected the south roof last Wednesday. He billed 6 hours. I know. What's the problem? I was on the south roof last Wednesday. Claire waited. He wasn't there, Marisol said. Nobody was there except me and the roofer. Ron's log says I walked the site with him. Did you? No. Why does it say you did? I asked Diane. She said Ron probably got the date wrong. Did you sign it? Marisol gave her a look. You've seen my signature. It was true. Marisol's signature resembled an earthquake recorded by a machine. The one on Ron's log was a tidy slant. I thought you didn't want to be in the middle, Claire said. I don't. Then why bring me this? Because somebody put me there. Marisol laid the clipboard on the table. Beneath Ron's inspection log was a mileage form for a company van. It claimed he had driven it to 3 supplier visits that week. I had that van, Marisol said, all week. Can you prove it? Gas receipts, parking ticket, my dignity. You got a parking ticket? I said dignity. I did not say innocence. Claire felt something inside her loosen, not relief. An ally was not the same thing as safety, but it was the first time in weeks someone else had seen what she saw without asking her to soften it. Do you have copies? She asked. I made them before Diane could fix the date. Marisol handed her a folder. Why did Diane drive you to those appointments? Claire asked. Marisol looked toward the office. Because I had nobody else nearby and she offered. She sat in bad waiting room chairs and brought terrible magazines. That was real. I know. That's what makes this hard. I know that too. Marisol studied her face, perhaps deciding whether to believe her. If you fire her, people will say you used her until you didn't need her. Will you? I haven't decided. It hurt more than Claire expected. Marisol tapped the folder, but I won't let her use my name. That evening, Randall was waiting at home. The unopened bottle of birthday wine stood on the kitchen island between them. You sent records to Martin, he said. Yes, without telling me. You moved $32,000 without telling me. I was protecting payroll. You were protecting your mother. I was protecting the company from a panic you created. Claire put down her bag. Explain that. You started freezing payments. Vendors got nervous, staff got nervous, Mom had to keep everyone calm. Your mother rerouted materials and fabricated records. You don't know she fabricated anything. I have Ron's log with Marisol's name on it. Ron got a date wrong. He also drove a van that was 3 states away. Randall looked toward the living room. Jesus. He didn't make a mistake. Someone built him proof. You want it to be Mom. I don't want any of this. Then stop. The simplicity of it stunned her. He came closer, lowering his voice as if another person might overhear them in their own kitchen. Release payroll. Put the kiln on hold. Give me a month to land the hotel contract. We replace the reserve, reduce the family positions gradually, and Mom retires with dignity. She doesn't want to retire. She will if I ask the right way. You asked her to document the jobs and she cried until you apologized. That's not what happened. What did happen? His eyes moved to the wine. Claire understood. You apologized to her. She thought I was accusing her of stealing. Were you? No. Then what are we talking about? Survival. He picked up the bottle and turned it in his hands. She has spent her whole life making herself necessary. If we take this away in front of everyone, she won't recover. Claire felt tired all the way into her teeth. And what happens to me? You'll be angry. For how long? I don't know, but I'll recover. You always do. There it was, the faith at the center of his betrayal. Not that Diane was right, not even that Claire was wrong, only that Claire was strong enough to absorb what his mother could not. He set down the bottle. Come to dinner. Be kind. Let her have her birthday. After that, I'll handle it. Claire looked at the man she had once trusted with every key she owned. All right, she said. Relief changed his whole face. He stepped forward to hold her, but she bent to pick up her bag. Upstairs, Claire emailed Martin. Sunday dinner, dessert around 8. Can you come at 8:15 with the payroll ledger and your preliminary review? His response arrived 2 minutes later. Will they know I'm coming? Claire typed. Randall knows you're reviewing the books. It was not an answer. She knew that. Martin replied, I'll be there. On Sunday, Diane seated herself at the head of her dining table beneath a chandelier that made every wine glass sparkle. The 6 relatives filled the chairs around her, dressed as though someone might take photographs. Randall sat beside Claire, touching her wrist whenever conversation drifted near the company. Diane served roast chicken, potatoes, and green beans with almonds. She asked Claire to carve. It was a family task disguised as an honor. Claire did it cleanly. After dinner, Travis brought out a lemon cake. Diane opened gifts, including a silver key-shaped pendant from the 6 people on the payroll. How perfect, Sheila said. Diane fastened it around her neck. The pendant rested against her blue dress. Then she stood and lifted her wine glass. I know it's considered rude to toast yourself, she said, smiling around the table, but I'm proud that when times got hard, I found a way to keep this family employed. Randall's hand tightened around Claire's knee. Please, he murmured, don't embarrass my mother. The doorbell rang. Claire put down her fork. I won't, she said. Martin will. Diane stared at her. Martin. Randall's hand left Claire's knee. The bell rang again. I'll get it, Travis said, but Claire was already standing. Martin waited on the porch in a brown overcoat, holding a leather portfolio and a ledger thick enough to make his purpose clear. He glanced past Claire at the dining room. You invited an accountant to a birthday party, he said quietly. It seemed less cruel than inviting the tax department. That is a very low bar. She let him in. Diane had lowered her glass by the time they entered. Randall stood beside his chair. Martin, he said, what are you doing here? Reviewing related party hires. Claire said you knew I was reviewing the books. I knew you were reviewing them. I didn't know you were coming to my mother's house. Martin looked at Claire. I said he knew about the review, she told him. That is exactly what you said. Diane touched the silver key at her throat. I don't appreciate being ambushed in my own home. Neither did I, Claire said. That was 7 weeks ago. Martin removed his coat. Travis took it automatically, still playing host, while everyone else decided whether the evening had become a meeting or a fight. "I can leave," Martin said, "but the payroll file is due tomorrow and I need an answer tonight." 6 employees were added without the consent required by the operating agreement. Diane sat. "They had Randall's consent. That is one owner." "This is ridiculous," Tina said. "I've been promoting the business everywhere. Name a client you brought in," Claire said. Tina blinked. "That's not how community outreach works." "How does it work?" "It builds awareness." "Where?" "At community events." "Which events?" Diane set her glass down. "Claire, stop interrogating people." Martin took the empty chair at the far end of the table, beside the lemon cake. He opened the portfolio, removed the payroll ledger, and placed it beside his plate. 6 names were highlighted in yellow. He turned it toward Diane. "Who hired them?" Silence settled over the table. Claire looked at Randall. He had defended his mother in their bedroom, in the workshop, on the phone, and at their kitchen table. Now he looked at the ledger as though it contained a question he had never expected to answer aloud. Diane spoke first. "I did." Randall closed his eyes. "I identified positions we needed," she continued. "Randall authorized them." Martin looked at him. "Did you?" Randall sat slowly. "I authorized some. All 6 carry your code. My mother had access. Did you give it to her?" "Yes." "Did you know she was using it?" "Not every time." Martin waited. Randall rubbed his thumb along the edge of the table. "But yes. Generally, I knew." Pamela pushed her plate away. "Diane told me this was all approved." "It was," Diane said. "By both owners?" Martin asked. Diane's mouth tightened. "By the owner who handles business development." "That isn't what your agreement requires." Ron leaned back. "I'm not sitting here while some bean counter calls me a thief." "I haven't called you anything," Martin said. "I've reviewed what the company paid you and the records submitted to support it." He opened the ledger. "Mr. Pierce, you billed 32 hours for facility inspections on dates when your assigned key was not used. One inspection log says Marisol Vega walked the south roof with you. She has provided a statement that she did not. I got the date wrong." "The company van mileage form?" "Same thing. The van was in Kentucky." Ron looked at Diane. "You said the dates didn't matter." "I said correct the dates if you had them wrong. You filled out the form." Diane's face changed. Randall turned toward her. "Mom?" "He gave me the mileage. I made it readable." "You put Marisol's name on it?" I was trying to reconstruct what happened. Marisol's copies had taken 5 minutes to reproduce and 7 weeks to become undeniable. Martin moved down the list. Sheila's marketing reports contained website photographs and engagement numbers copied from the company's old campaign. Tina's 3 leads had never requested estimates. Marcus's only documented vendor action was the shipment he had delayed. Pamela had logged 45 hours of on-site administrative work without entering the building once. "I worked from home," Pamela said softly. "Doing what?" Claire asked. Pamela looked at Diane, then down at her hands. "She sent me a spreadsheet." "What did you do with it?" "Remove duplicate addresses." Claire knew the file. It was less than 200 lines. "How long did that take?" "An afternoon." "You were paid for 7 weeks." "I didn't set the salary." Pamela's voice cracked. "I was behind on my apartment. Diane said there was money in the business and I could help until I got steady again." Diane reached for her. Pamela pulled her hand away. "You made it sound real," she said. "It was real." "No, it was a favor you dressed up so Claire couldn't say no." The sentence moved around the table, stripping something from Diane as it went. Travis remained by the doorway with Martin's coat over one arm. "Was my job real?" Diane looked almost offended. "Of course yours was." "Then why am I in this?" "Because Claire resents anyone I bring in." Travis looked at Claire. "You did work," Claire said. "You also got paid for hours you weren't there." Diane filled in my time. "You knew." He swallowed. "I knew about some." "And the key?" His hand went to his belt, though the key was on the ring in his pocket now. Randall gave it to me. Claire turned. Randall's gaze dropped. The key she had found in his jacket had not gone back to Diane. He had waited, then given it to Travis anyway. It was a small betrayal beside $32,000, 6 false jobs, and weeks of lies. Somehow, it hurt with perfect clarity. "You said you wouldn't," Claire told him. "I said I wasn't giving it to him that night." "You let me believe you meant ever. You'd already decided he didn't belong. He was on trial. He needed to feel trusted. So you took my trust and gave it to him." Diane rose. "Enough. Randall built that company, too. You talk as if he needs permission to hand out a key." "He did need permission," Claire said. "That's what shared ownership means. No, to you, shared means yours until he fights for it." Randall flinched, but Diane kept going. "I watched him sell your work for 10 years while you got to be the artist everyone admired. I watched him soothe clients you offended and employees you intimidated. Then I came in and made that office function, while you acted like paying me erased every sacrifice." Claire felt each accusation search for a tender place. Some found one. "You did make it function," she said. "You were good at your job. That's why this worked." Diane's face went blank. "You had enough access to make 6 people look employed. Randall had enough faith in you to stop checking. And I had enough faith in Randall to believe he would protect what we built." Randall pushed back from the table. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Turn my mother's birthday into a performance. You told me not to embarrass her. Because I knew this would happen. You knew Martin would find false records. I knew you'd need to be right in front of everyone." Claire studied him. "Why was her embarrassment more dangerous than what this did to me?" "That isn't fair. You said she wouldn't recover. She won't. And you said I always do." He looked at her then. Around them, the relatives had gone still. Diane sat down, one hand covering the key pendant. "You weren't choosing who was right," Claire said. "You were choosing who could survive being hurt." Randall's eyes shone, but his voice stayed hard. "What do you want me to say?" "That you knew I would carry it, so you put it on me." His silence answered. Martin closed the ledger. "I need instructions for payroll." Claire kept her eyes on Randall. The 6 related party hires were never valid under the operating agreement. Suspend them. Anyone performing legitimate work can reapply with duties, supervision, and documented hours. "You can't decide that alone," Randall said. "Neither could you." She turned to Diane. "Your financial access ends tonight. Martin will process payroll temporarily. On Monday, you can meet with both owners about whether there is any office role left without access to accounts." Diane gave a short, stunned laugh. "You're firing me at my own table." "I'm withdrawing the access you used." "Same thing?" "No, it only feels the same because access became the whole job." Randall stood. "If she goes, I go." Claire had expected the threat. Expecting it did not make it smaller. "Then go home," she said. "We'll meet with Martin tomorrow." He waited for her to soften it. She didn't. The lemon cake remained cut into 12 slices. Claire left hers untouched. At the workshop Monday morning, Martin changed the payroll credentials while Claire removed 6 brass keys from the board. Travis surrendered his in person. "I really did like working here," he said. "I know." "Could I reapply?" "Yes, Marisol will interview you." He nodded, embarrassed but relieved by the existence of an honest door. Diane did not come. Her resignation arrived through Randall before noon, 2 paragraphs accusing Claire of destroying a family to prove a point. The 6 disputed checks remained frozen while Martin verified hours. Travis was paid for documented work. Marcus received payment for 1 supplier call. Sheila for the hours spent posting photographs. Pamela for the afternoon she cleaned the spreadsheet. The rest vanished when someone had to attach a task to it. The tax reserve took 6 months to repair. Bennett Glassworks paid penalties, delayed the kiln, and lost 2 clients who preferred working with Randall. The hotel contract never arrived. For a while, every quiet week felt like evidence that Diane had been right about Claire needing him. Randall came to 3 ownership meetings. At the first, he blamed the controls for slowing sales. At the second, Martin showed him how much unauthorized payroll had cost. At the third, Claire offered him a choice: remain an owner with independent oversight and no unilateral financial authority, or begin the valuation process in their agreement. "And us?" he asked after Martin left. They sat across from each other in the conference room where he had once promised to handle his mother. "I don't know how to be married to someone who uses my strength as permission to hurt me," Claire said. "I made mistakes." "You made decisions." He looked through the glass at the workshop. "You'll be fine without me." It was meant as bitterness. It sounded like the same excuse. They separated that week. Randall eventually sold his share under the company's valuation process. The price was fair for the smaller business they actually had, not the future he had counted on Claire to create. Diane's relatives stopped calling him once there were no salaries to defend. Travis reapplied, accepted a part-time warehouse position under Marisol, and became annoyingly strict about clocking out before taking donuts to the break room. Nearly a year after the dinner, the new kiln arrived. Marisol supervised the rigging while Claire stood beside the walnut keyboard. The bottom row was empty except for Travis's new tag, already scratched from use. Claire carried the old tags to the design room. She sanded away the 6 names and returned the blank brass circles to a drawer for whoever came next. Randall's tag was there too. She held it once, remembering the garage, the plywood sign, and the man who had made strangers believe in her work before she knew how to ask them. Then she placed it in the back of the drawer and closed it. Behind her, the kiln powered on with a low, steady hum. Through the workshop windows, morning light struck the remaining brass keys, fewer than before, each one worn around the teeth, and made them shine.